Jenny Hall here for Honeybee Stamps. Today, I'd like to share the vellum overlay technique. This is the Pretty Poinsettias stamps and dies from the Honeybee shop. They're so beautiful. They're going to really shine out and used in a very simple design. I've placed them in the Misty 2.0 and I am stamping with embossing ink on a piece of vellum. Now I'm going to sprinkle on some gold embossing powder. This would also look really pretty with any kind of a sparkle or glitter embossing powder. Anything with special effects will show up very nicely on this technique. Now I'm going to use my heat tool to gently heat and melt all of that embossing powder. Once it's all cooled down, then I'm going to put all of the dies onto the paper at once and then place this over a piece of 110-pound cardstock. The dies are strong enough to cut through both the vellum and the cardstock all at once, which is a nice time saver. You can see here that I have a vellum piece and a piece of white cardstock to match every image. So now I'm going to add some nice pretty pink color just on the piece of cardstock, and this is Worn Lipstick Distress Oxide ink, and you could use any color you like here. Red would even be really pretty. The way that this technique really shows up beautifully is that because the color is not on the vellum, then it's very hazy and it's kind of much more subtle. You could use any kind of colors at all and experiment because it's a really fun thing to do. So now I'm going to create the background. I'm using more Distress Oxide inks and I'm using the Honeybee Stamps Hexagon Palm Blender brush. This is a wonderful brush that has a very large area that covers the paper really quickly. So I'm just adding down each of these three colors and I'm trying to make the color more concentrated and dark in the middle of the cardstock. So I've progressed from the lighter on the outside edge to where we have the darker color in the middle. And then after I get down to my darkest color, I'll go back over a little bit with that lightest blue and kind of just meld everything back together to make sure that I have a nice smooth blend. I am using the same brush for all of these colors. I have a collection building up of these palm blender brushes, and I kind of tend to just use one brush for everything blue, one brush for everything yellow, that kind of thing. Now I'm going to use it's an ink refill from Ink on 3 and the color is Shark Tooth White. You could use some gouache or some concentrated watercolor or acrylic paint. Anything would work nicely to get your white splatters. And I'm going to also use an ink refill, and this is one of the same blue colors that I used in the ink blending. That's just going to help me get a little more depth and atmosphere to the background. The colors are really going to shine with all of the white that's going to be featured on top of it. To die cut this panel, I'm using the A2 stitched frames, and they cut out just the right size for me to leave a white border, and the white is going to pair nicely with the white that's going to come through with the vellum. So I'm going to use some tape runner, and this is the Gina K tape runner, and I am not having a problem with the adhesive showing through because I guess there's so much going on with the stamped lines. I don't have to worry. This is such an easy, no fuss technique that I really enjoy just sitting back and making a card. Now I'm taking a scrap of that same paper and I've stamped the sentiment and sprinkled on the same gold embossing. Now you could do this in many different colors of the sentiment as well. I thought about maybe stamping it in blue ink, but the in the end, the gold won out. So this is going to be a bit of a different kind of a Christmas card. I'm hoping that when it's received in the mail, that it will stand out as just being something pretty and unique, and it will just look nicely displayed all through the entire holiday season. I've got a couple of those extra images, and once I started putting them down in the design, they just kind of turned me towards not wanting them there. So instead, I grabbed the Holiday Cheer Gem Sticker Pack, and there are some white iridescent gems in that pack, and I chose to use them instead. But not letting these images go to waste, I've placed some of them on the inside of the card, and that'll be a nice surprise for whenever the person opens to read the greeting. And here's the finished product. I hope that you've enjoyed this technique, and I would love to hear your ways that you think you're going to use this style of technique. Thanks for watching.